and it's something that you have to work at. And I have to say that some of my colleagues work harder than others at learning the process. And the ones that do learn it, they get put into positions where they're, you know, chairman of committees and vice chairman. So you do get, you know, some benefit to learning the process, because then you do get, you know, some authority.
Well, now on the federal level, it seems to me as though I hear they were always attaching different issues to the bills. Does that happen on the state level?
It can, but the U.S. legislature is sort of a little more of a Wild West show than ours. Ours is a little more orderly. We try to keep the subject matter of the particular bill. I think it is, because you don't get you don't get a hodgepodge, and you're able to follow it. So if there's a bill, say on operation of a motor vehicle, you can't attach funding for, you know, some project in, you know, say the Merrimack Valley to that particular bill, because it would be ruled out of order by the clerk. The federal government doesn't have that procedure. We do. So it's a little more, I'd say pure, if that's a correct word, but it's a little more orderly and understandable. So but that's a good question.
Yeah. You know, I have to remind you that you represent a community that was selected by a national publication to be one of the best towns in the country in which to live in.
I know.
How proud you must be.
Absolutely.
And you've done us well. You've done us.
Thank you.
You've been responsible for bringing monies into the community. How have you done that? And I know you recently appeared before the town council and said that the future doesn't look as bright.
Well,
and you recently applied for a grant for the police department. How did that was not granted?
Well, I actually, through my position as Vice Chairman of Ways and Means, I have access to writing the legislation that basically funds the state and other. So I'm able to, if I can convince my colleagues, able to potentially put in some funding for some things that I think are important to our district.
And this was an important amount that the police department needed to upgrade their computer
communication system. Yes, and really the police, you know, they do a great job in this community. They're very, very, you know,
guardians of our safety.
Absolutely, and they take it very seriously. They're a very, very competent police department. We're very fortunate. So when the chief,
despite the fact that we don't operate with a full roster of personnel.
Right. That's right. I think we're still operating at a very small, low level of personnel.
Yes.
So the police chief and we had a discussion one day, and I said, you know, how are things at the department? He said, oh, you know, we're getting by, and he never complains. But I said, well, is there anything that I can do for you that might be helpful to you, that might take some pressure off the town budget? And he said, well, we really need to upgrade our, you know, convert our radio system and communication system to the 21st century from analog to digital. And that's a big deal because it allows them to interface with other agencies and things, and especially if there was a disaster or in the event of a widespread emergency. So I said, well, how much is that? And he said, well, I can get it started for $75,000 and I can get it finished for another $250,000. Well, I said, well, this year let me get you $75,000, which I did last year, and this year I put in the budget $250,000. Well, unfortunately, the governor vetoed that money in the bill, but I was, I think, somewhat successful in convincing the governor that he had maybe done that too hastily. So he called me. And he said that they'd be looking to fund that through another grant program. So I think they're going to get the money.
Now, we're in the 10th Norfolk District, and your district has changed, hasn't it? You have all of Franklin and 3 precincts for Medway?
Yes.
When you started out, that was not so. How are these districts, how is the districts allocated, and what does it depend on, population or what? Exactly.
Every 10 years by the state constitution, we're required to redistrict the legislature. We're currently about 38,500 persons per state rep district. Under the last redistricting, I had a rep district that was almost 50,000, and that was based on the tremendous growth in population in the Metro West region. And when I was first elected, I had a piece of Medway, all of Franklin, Bellingham, and Blackstone. And then I immediately redistricted because in 1996, the the new district took effect. I'm sorry, 1994, the new district took effect right after I was elected in a special election. And so for only 10 months, I had that 4-town district. Then I went to a 3-town district, which was 2/3 of Blackstone, 4/5 of Bellingham, and Franklin. And then 10 years later, we redistricted down to, because the district kept growing in population, down to all of Franklin, and I now have 4 precincts actually in Medway, because Medway went from a 4 precincts to 5 precincts. So it's getting smaller geographically, but.
Yeah. And your colleague Scott Brown, Senator Scott Brown, has three precincts in Franklin?
Yes.
Yeah, okay. You work very well together.
Yes, we do.
Yeah, you do.
We serve in the same military unit.
Oh yes. Is he abroad now?
No, he went abroad for a week, but he's here.
Okay. Well, what else can you tell us about your duties as a legislator? You wear 3 hats.
I do.
Legislator, attorney, and an officer in the Army.
Yes.
How do you divide your time? I mean, you have a new addition to your family,
Yes.
little Lucy.
Yes.
And I heard you took her to the 4th of July celebration, and she was the belle of the ball.
She was my 9-month-old little sweetheart. Yeah. She's wonderful. Well, my family's always my priority, and I really, when I was actually offered the opportunity to run for the Senate, the seat that Scott Brown ran for, and also there was a seat open when Karen Spilka ran.
I didn't recall that. Tell us about that.
Well, I really thought hard about running for the Senate. My colleague Karen Spilka from the House ran and was elected in her Senate district, and then shortly thereafter Scott Brown ran and was elected as a House member to the Senate. So there were 2 Senate seats open in Franklin over the last several years, and I thought about it, but to be honest with you, I waited to get married till a little later in life, when I found the right person, or
That's
right
very
person.
important.
I was lucky enough to find a wonderful person.
Very important.
So I really wanted to make that my #1 commitment to starting a family and being around, at home. So I didn't run for the Senate because I would have required, I think more nights out initially, and the Senate district's much larger. So aside from making my family my priority, I really make the legislative job my priority. Obviously, the military is a commitment that is requiring a little more time due to the war on terrorism and the war abroad. But I am a reservist, and I'm hoping that we go back to having a reserve in this country and a National Guard that's at home most of the time going forward. But and really, lastly, my law practice is really last. I do that, nights, weekends, when I have time, and I have a reduced practice. I don't have a full-blown, law practice like a lot of
Well, I was quite shocked to hear an announcement by the former Governor Dukakis yesterday saying that nothing had been done in the legislature since he left office in 1991. I was really shocked. I can't imagine Mike making that type of a statement, but he did. Our new governor has a lot of plans.
Yes.
How are those going to be funded? Some of them seem to be quite expensive. Can you tell us about some of them?
Well, as the Ways and Means committee member, we're wondering that as well. We want to work with the new governor, as I've really, worked well with the previous governors. It's really irrelevant what party they're in. We're all Americans, and we're all citizens of Massachusetts, and we want to do the best job we can for the people we represent. But I am concerned about spending and about fiscal health and the cost of living here, because that's what it's all about. The taxpayers have to fund these programs, and I'm always concerned about spending money wisely. And he does have ambitious plans, and I applaud him for innovative thinking and for having sort of tremendous ambition to do a lot of wonderful things, because they are a lot of good programs. But I think they go beyond our ability to fund them at this time.